Hello everyone. The purpose of this video is to teach you all how to connect to the IST 659 SQL Server. You'll need to connect to this server in order to do labs 5 through lab 10. This is where you'll be programming in SQL, creating tables and views and all that. So my hope is this week you'll watch this video and follow the instructions and confirm you can connect to SQL Server. So next week, when the first SQL Server lab is released, you'll be able to get started on that and won't have any problems accessing the server at the last minute. So please try to go through these steps this week and let me know if you have any problems. So there's two main methods for connecting to the class SQL Server. One is using Remote Lab. That's the easiest way to do it because you don't have to install anything. You just have to connect to a remote PC that's already set up with the software and use it from there. The issue is that can be slow at times if the network is slow. The other alternative is you can install SQL Management Studio on your local computer. That will work faster and you won't have problems with slow connections, but it does take time to set up. So let's go through both methods. The first thing, though, we have to do, regardless of which method, is to get the password, the username and password for SQL Server. So everyone is going to have their own username and password for SQL Server, which is different from your NetID username and password. So the way to get that is go to iSchool.syr.edu, go to sign in, enter your NetID and password, then click on your username here at the top, then scroll down, click on IST Students Account, and you should see a row here with your course name and your name, or your instructor name, I guess that's me. And you should see a login name here, which is going to be your NetID plus 6593 at the end. So first let's copy and paste that. I'm going to paste it into Notebook here, Notepad, so I don't have to find it later. Now if you want to see your password, you have to hit Show and then click here. So that's my password, which I will change, of course, after the video. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. So now I have this for later. Okay, so now we don't need this anymore. Let's log out. So first I'm going to show how to connect with Remote Lab. What you're going to type is remotelab.ischool.syr.edu, and this was giving me some difficulty before and always connect, so I'm not sure if it'll work this time. I really hope it does. Okay. Let's hit make my reservation, connect to Remote Lab, and I really hope it works. Okay, open. It just wasn't connecting before. Okay, that's a good sign. It asks me for my password. This is just your NetID password, your regular password that you use for everything. Hope I typed that right. Okay, so this is where it timed out on me before. I hope it doesn't this time. Oh, it's working. Good. So now it's logging me into the remote PC. You see this is the name of the PC up here. As of this semester, we now are using Windows 8. So we need to launch SQL Server 2014 Management Studio. So I'm going to do it by doing search SQL Server. Oh, there it is. Okay, so SQL Server 2014 Management Studio. Click on it. Now it's coming up. Come on, let's go. Hurry up. Usually it's a little faster. Alright, so it launched. Now when it launches, the first thing it wants to know is the server name to connect to. So this is something you'll need to make a note of. The server name is, I'm just copying it out of Notepad, ist students, all one word, .syr.edu, and then comma 1433. So this here is a comma, it's not a period. Some people tend to make that mistake and then they can't connect. So type in iststudents.syr.edu, comma 1433. For authentication, pick SQL Server Authentication, and here is where you'll use your username and password that you got off the iSchool website. So I'm going to copy this SQL username. Of course, yours will be different. If you're Joe Jones, it'll be, JM Jones 6593 or something, and you'll have your own password. Going to copy that. Maybe I'll tell it to remember. And then hit connect. So it's connecting to our server. And here it is. So let's expand our databases window. So these are all the databases that exist on the server. There's basically one database for every person with a few extra databases thrown in there. So you're going to need to find the database with your username, okay? So my username is cptomps, so it's in alphabetical order, so there's mine. So if I hit right click, I can hit new query, and that will let me run SQL against my database. You can see here it has my database name. Now I mentioned that everyone should create a test table just to make sure you have access, so you can just expand this window, expand tables, just right click on table, folder, hit new table, and then you can just make a column called test. Doesn't matter the data type. Hit the little X, say yes, I want to save. Let's call it test table. And there we have it. If you right click on tables and hit refresh, there it is. So that worked. Now I'm going to delete it because, well, no, I won't delete it yet. I'll leave it there. Okay, so that's how you use SQL Server with Remote Lab. Let's get out of here. Click the X. Going to disconnect from Remote Lab. Going to clear my reservation. Going to log out. So that's the easy way. Now, the trickier way to do it, that requires more setup, is to install the software on my own computer. So let's try that. What we need to do is go to the DreamSpark website to get SQL Server 2014. So, iSchool.syr.edu, sign in. Enter your net ID and password. Now click on your username here at the top. Scroll down, and you're going to click on Download Software. Let's click on this little icon under DreamSpark. and we need to find SQL Server. So click in Product Search and type SQL Server 2014. That's the latest version. Last semester they were still using 2008 R2, but now we're finally on 2014. So which version should you get? There's a lot of different versions. A lot of these will install a local database instance, meaning it will turn your PC into a server where you can host your own database, but we don't really need that. I think it's better to just install the Management Studio, because all you need to do is have your computer function as a client to connect to the class SQL Server. So I would recommend, to keep things simple, you just install this SQL Server 2014 Management Studio. Hit Add to Cart. I had a student in a prior semester who was having a lot of difficulty, and it turned out they were actually hosting the database on their local machine instead of connecting to the school server. And the version they were using on their local machine was something that didn't support all the types of syntax that was needed for the coding in the class. And I didn't even realize she was connecting to her local machine for the database until I noticed that she had no database objects created in her class database. So that was really complicated to figure out, and it was because she had installed a version that had its own local database. So just make sure that I would recommend you install this version, and when you do connect, when you launch SQL Server, make sure you connect to that iststudents.sver.edu, 1433. Okay, this is going kind of slow. Now, maybe I should not go through all this, because in my earlier video about getting Microsoft Access, I explained, how to interact with DreamSpark and add it to your cart and download it and all that. It's pretty simple, so I'm not going to go through all that, since it seems to not be working anyway, or at least working slowly. So let's just pretend you clicked Add to Cart, you downloaded it, you hit Install. Oh, actually, finally it worked. Okay, so I'm not going to actually check out, because I don't want to install this, because I already have SQL Server 2014, the full version, on my computer. But let's just pretend I installed this. Okay, I'm going to remove this just so it doesn't get confused. Alright, so let's say I downloaded and installed, and now I have it on my computer. I can log out for now. Okay, so once you install it, you'll notice in your programs, you'll have it right here. This is the old SQL Server version we were using last semester, but we finally upgraded. Okay, so you click on SQL Server 2014 Management Studio. Now, there's something special you'll need to do before you actually connect, and you'll need to use something called SU Remote Access. Some of you may have already used that for other classes, but before you try to connect, before I hit connect here, I'm going to need that program. So to show you how to get that, the best thing to do, or at least the way I find it when I need it, is go to Google, go to Syracuse University Remote Access, type that in, and then I click on this link that says download Syracuse University Archives. Okay, and then it has that program for a number of operating systems: Mac, Linux, Windows. So I'll click the Windows one. Now you have to enter your NetID and password. I guess that's just to make sure that only SU people are downloading this. Okay, now we're going to click on this link down here, Windows 7, 8, and 10. Okay, and now here is where you would actually save it to your desktop. It's just an exe. You don't have to go through any install process. So let's just say I save this. I already have it, so I'm not going to actually save it, but just save that to your computer. And you'll notice let me minimize this. have it right here. So you'll save it to your desktop or wherever, double click it, hit run, and this is going to establish a VPN connection to SU. So you're going to put your NetID password here for username. For password, just put your regular NetID password that you use for email and Blackboard and everything. Now it's going to connect. Okay, once it connects, now let's wait until these green lines get to the end. Okay, guess that's good. Appears to be connected. Now we're going to need to connect with SQL Server. So I've already connected before, which is why it filled in this information, but when you first run SQL 2014 it will not have the server name here or the login name. So what you'll need to do is, oh, and by the way, make sure you pick Database Engine here, or else you'll be very confused. Okay, so again, the server name, IST students, all one word, .syr.edu, comma, 1433. Again, this is a comma, not a period. Pick SQL Server Authentication, and here you're going to put your SQL Server username and password, the same ones we used when we were connecting through Remote Lab. So I've already got that in, drop in my password, hit connect, and now we'll have the same interface that we had from Remote Lab. So I'm going to expand the databases window and find my database, which is going to be starting with my username, cbtomp something, cbtomp 6593 or whatever. There's a lot of databases. Okay, so just look for your own username here. Okay, here it is. So right click, new query. That's how I would run SQL code if I wanted to run select star from something. But then to create that table, you just expand here, and there's the table we created before, still there because we didn't delete it. So let's just create one more just for the heck of it. Right click on tables, new table. Column name, test, whatever, close it, yes, let's just call it test table 2. Okay, and it doesn't refresh, so you have to right click on tables and hit refresh. So there you go. Okay, so now you know how to, first of all, get your SQL Server username and password from the iSchool website. Now you know what the school server name, and this is the port here, are. So you know how to connect, and now you know how to connect through Remote Lab, and you know how to get the software, and you know how to get SU remote access and how to connect from your local PC. So everyone, please try this week to connect and let me know if you can't get it working. But I guess that's it for now. Let me close it up. Close this. And I can disconnect from SU remote access when I'm done using SQL Server. This little guy doesn't like to actually close unless you do this. Okay, close out here, and we're done. So I hope this was useful to everyone, and of course if you have any problems, let me know. Have a good week.